All right, we are live and I'll call this meeting to order at 8:03. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. All right, we will start with committee reports. The first one is me. The executive committee met last on June 10th. Matt and I were present along with the EDC team. We met and discussed, and Bob joined us. Thank you. We discussed the small business space and how we're really trying to focus a little bit on welcoming all businesses, people at different phases of their business, what we can do there. We discussed the grant with the city, which I hope to give another update on today, where we're in that process. Matt had a really great idea of a buy local marketing campaign that maybe we can connect the city and the county on, and we discussed not just retail, but professional services, construction companies will hopefully get in on this. And we discussed that as a way to engage some other members that we don't engage that often, like on the list that we'll discuss later. Finney Design Group is an architecture firm that we're hoping to bring on as members, but they would benefit from something about using local resources, using local professional services. So that was a great idea, Matt. We discussed that. Our budget continues to be on track, and we'll give a larger update today. And Jim did give us an update on the annual CFA Roadshow, and that there might be some changes to previous years with that, but it will be held at William Henry. And then Bob gave us a really great update on timeline of engaging with entrepreneurs through the EDC, and he'll give a larger update to all of you. So we won't give away the exciting work that he's done there. All right, that is it for our executive committee meeting, and I think Judy will give an update on the audit and finance committee.
Yes, thank you. Going in for that. Thank you. We met yesterday. We did have a quorum, and we did review and approve preliminarily the financial reports, which we'll hear about today, and hopefully approved fully by the full board. We've started work as a committee on looking at our insurance policies. That's going to be an ongoing activity, at least over the summer. We as a committee are meeting next month in July, even though the board is not meeting, but we will meet, and we'll be working with Dion on that as well as with Jim. We also did a review of a pending property sale of 2 of our lots in Queensberry. We call them lots 1 and 2. And there is a 3rd lot where there's a potential sale as well. But right now, we do have an independent property sale on lots 1 and 2. And Jim will probably talk a little bit more about that. And that's it. Any questions?
Judy, for the insurance, are you talking property casualty benefits or everything?
Yes, and we're looking at possibly changing at least one of our insurance providers, but we're getting various different quotes from others and doing a comparison. And we're not quite done yet. We're still kind of looking at that and waiting for some additional information.
This is the whole spectrum of liability coverage for the EDC. It's property holdings, it's, staff and directors.
Officers.
It's on your PNC side, not
Right.
the group health and welfare. Okay. It's a lot.
It is. Yeah. So, and we'll bring that information forward too at some point. We weren't ready today to go over anything in great detail, but it is a lot. Yeah.
Thank you, Judy. Deanne, you have an update for May financials for us?
I do. So you have in your packets the May financials. We are tracking very nicely to budgets. But I'll go over the statement of financial position, the balance sheet. As of May 31st, our total assets were $917,967. It's a decrease of $135,000 which is incidentally how much we're paid every month by the county. Our cash position is $458,891. At the end of May, our accounts receivable were high. They were 187. We have received 105 since then from the county for the first quarter of the year. Our prepaids are 17,000. Those are the same prepaids that they always are. They include the insurances that all just got renewed as well. So we renewed the insurance policies because we had to, but we will switch them. They all renewed for the 1st of June. Total liabilities as of the end of May were 111,184, small decrease from last month. Our accounts payable, that's where you see all the insurances. The checks are right here actually. They're going in today, so that's 8,900. Other current liabilities, this is like the SEP IRA, the FSA, the short-term lease at 66,000. So our total equity as of the end of May was 806,783, which includes the same four designated funds of 432 and also the restricted for Kingsbury project, 137,000. So moving to the activities, I'm just going to focus on the year-to-date. The year-to-date, you'll see under grant that 20,766. That does include the pass-through, which is the payment for the contractor who works on, this is the grant for the rural child care. And so that includes the 5,600 that we pay her, it's like her monthly contract amount. So there's 2 more payments that will come out of that. The rest is, there's some buffer in there for her expenses, and then whatever's left over is what we take those out. So to date, our net income is 45,000, which is tracking very close to budget.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
All right, well, if there are no questions, I will ask for a motion to approve the May 2026 financials.
So maybe.
Kathleen, second.
Second.
All right, Matt, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And also a motion for approval of the May 2026 board meeting minutes. Motion.
So moved.
Judy, thank you. Second, Rebecca, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay. On to membership. We always discuss the idea of growing our membership, diversifying our income. We are going to lean on all of you as a board to help us get some of the bigger prospective members that we have not been able to secure yet for this year or ever. Let me pull them up on my phone here. Thank you, Eric. Eric gave me a list of the top 10 organizations that we would like your help with. So I'll list them off now, tell you a little bit of, if they've been a prospective member or a previous member. And if you could either assign yourself right now to take the lead or reach out to us after. If no one on this list, is someone that you have a connection to, we also have a much bigger list that is available, and you can reach out and we can send you that to look at. The first is Bartlett Pontiff Store and Roads. They've been a prospect for it, but have never a member as far as this chart says.
So one thing to keep in mind is that some organizations have either approaches or policies that suggest they don't want to belong to organizations because the exposure would be too great for all the organizations that they would feel like they need to belong to, but they oftentimes will consider some form of sponsorship or other support. So when we're talking about membership, we're really talking about bringing their logo and their presence into the community of investors of the organization. Membership just happens to be the process that we start with, but
Our annual meeting is coming up, and we agree to get. We have the date, yeah.
no, we're going to talk about that.
Christopoli Brothers Plumbing and Heating out of they're
Take
both
that.
okay, thank you. They have not really been a prospect or a member before, so that's nice. Thank you, Kathy.
when we approach them, I've tried to track Andrea down a number of times, but I'd really like to offer some support to them on Scruton Lake, because it really isn't an organization that can help us just across, half of Scruton Lake is in Warren County. Anything we can do to help them in kind of that uncharted area right there is a value equation in addition to their core business.
And I hope I say this right, but David Kronheim Group, an investor, corporate headquarters in New Jersey, but must have a connection here or an office here. I actually don't know.
What I'm really looking for here is a board member to act as another point of contact besides John and I. We work with them a lot in North Creek. $1 billion property development portfolio in New Jersey, but are now significant investors in North Creek. What I'm really looking for is somebody from either the business or board community to express some of the benefits. They know what it is to work with John and I on things as they're trying to advance their development ideas in North Creek, but they don't know anything about the business community or their peers in the area. So I'd love to be able to introduce them to somebody who's willing to consider that. They are already developing a property as a micro distillery in North Creek, and they bought 4 other lots there, including the Walgreens. So they are a player here, but I just think they need to start to be introduced to the business community.
I don't mind joining them, I don't know them, but, we do have a house in North Creek, so I'm happy to join.
Thank you. So, a local law firm, Fitzgerald Morris Baker Firth, they have been a prospect, but never a member. Also, I don't know if anyone works with them professionally.
I'll be making that request.
Oh,
You make
Or no?
I can do that one as well, I can do some work.
They
Yeah,
may,
hit them up.
they may be in a situation where they're reticent to belong formally, but I think exploring some way for them to be involved in an event or some sponsorship is, we certainly do a lot of business with them.
To the IDC.
Contact information.
I do, yeah, Eric probably will share it.
I'll
Perfect.
probably dig a little deeper on all this.
Start working, Karen.
They do a lot of legal work for the cities. They may be reluctant to be a member, but they would like support them. I might be able to help.
Thank you all.
I'll hit Karen.
All right, so Judy Magic, she's gonna get it from every angle. This is a good one, because Harding and Zadi, since they just came to Glens Hall, they're really, okay, well, Matt's texting him right now, so I'm gonna let Matt take this. Do you wanna reach out? Okay,
One of my college friends.
Oh,
I have a attorney there.
that's cool.
well, there we go. That is nice, because they're new to Glens Hall, so I'd be excited to invest here. Although I'll never get used to saying
You always
long
want
name
for all
like
the referrals, so
that. There we go.
throw some money in the EDC.
Perfect. MLB Construction Services, out of Malta, but now, they were a member before and are not anymore. I don't know the last year they were mostly there. All right, thank you so much. And again, Eric can provide you with any information for these emails and get in their contact information. Finney Design, unless someone else wants to take it, I'm sure Davis is now happy to take it. Thank you. And he's definitely looking to invest in this area. They're actually meeting with the mayor. They met with the mayor last week about she wants a firehouse project to renovate or grow or move the Glens Falls firehouse. And they've done firehouses. That's like actually one of Mike's first projects. So they got connected. He's looking to continue to invest here. They built all of our properties, and a lot of breweries actually, so they're like expanding into the North Country, but Pioneer Day, I think Paul's gonna take that.
Depends on what reaction you want.
Pioneer was at the event that we were at yesterday and they came in and introduced themselves to me afterwards, expressing an interest in how they could be more connected with some of the things that we were talking about, so that there's an opening there.
That's great. You want just someone to go with you?
Yeah, again, this is about somebody from the board in addition to me. I'm already trying to work them. But I think the business community talking about the benefits is different than the guy who's soliciting the check.
No one,
I'm happy to go, Paul doesn't want to go, I know the head of HR, but
but you want to, but if you can't make meetings,
Yeah.
something. Public House Weekender Hospitality is the professional name in North Creek.
This is here.
Okay, yes. Just having a conversation, you started conversations for.
So the LDC extended a loan to their operation, and I think what Kier needs, he has, he lives in Saratoga and he has a hotel in Saratoga. What he needs is more of a professional network here in the Glens Falls area. That's the greatest value for him, is peers who we can talk to about how they approach certain challenges here in Warren County. I think he actually has the most to gain from belonging to the organization. It's a relatively small organization now. I mean, I think their employee base is probably less than 20, 25 people at that facility. But I definitely think he would benefit from getting to know some of you. So again, it's a little bit like David Cronheim. We work with him. He knows the value that we bring, but what he needs is a professional network in addition to us as resources.
Bob, my family's hotel in Forge, and knows me.
Oh,
Maybe.
what hotel do they own, does he own in Saratoga?
He does.
It used to be the St. Charles, which is at the end of, on the corner of Lincoln and Broadway. They've
He's
upgraded
at
it.
18 Ocean Street. I'll back it up to him. I've talked to him a bunch of times.
Oh, that's great, thank you. It would be nice to just invite him to something and share what's happening this summer, but I'm sure we can find an
You
invitation.
can send me those materials, I just got
I don't think I've.
Oh, you're so, look at how fast he is, it's already done.
Wow. Hey, I just want Matt as our model.
That's awesome.
We set this up. Thank you, that's exciting. Sorry, I lost my page here. I think there's one more. Yes, Revolution Rail, which is a great connection. I know Christine, but for them to be more engaged with us would be nice. If anyone else
She's
is
still with him.
she's not.
No.
No, Christina's,
We're not around.
yeah,
Oh,
but,
I didn't know
Okay.
her.
but they're,
Who's there?
let me just be clear about what would be of value to them. That we've delivered value to them for a number of years. We continue to promote their numbers and help leverage their investment into other investments in North Creek. They use the county's rail base. They have a contract with the county to use that rail base. I think they need an allied business network to help continue to advocate for that, because there are other interests in the county that are always exploring other alternative uses for that railway. So what they need is a business network in addition to people like John and I who act in their interests already in both North Creek and at the county, but peers here in the business community that could help them as they're making the long-term pitch of the value that they bring for using that railway to the county. The county just initiated a study this past year to explore the alternatives to that railway, which is, I think somewhat terrifying to them because of the investment that they've made in place. They employ more than 50 people in North Creek, mostly on a seasonal basis, although there are a number of people that work year-round. 52,000 people went out there last year for their current work. They've expanded the routes. They run to all the way down to Hadley. Well, they have different routes along that railway. And they run almost all the way to Taos. So they're the basis of a lot of the investment that the state made in the ski bowl attraction, because they'd already demonstrated that people will travel to North Creek for that kind of off-season attraction. So they're already delivering value to our economy. I think they need just a little broader network so people know who they are.
Is Ashley still on? I know she's
Yes.
sending a chat, so I feel like maybe Ashley has it. In there.
Sorry,
Oh, she's talking.
Can you say that again, Ashley? So where's the mic?
It is over here.
Okay. Can you hear us? Okay, yeah, I project pretty well. So what we're looking for is potentially you or somebody else on the board to reach out to RevRail and see if we can bring them into the membership stead. I think you've met Rob and the other guys, is that true? Well, perfect. We'll connect with the contact information and some of the messaging with that after the meeting. Thank you, Ashley.
Well, that's great, thank you all, and we'll continue to give you updates on the progress of the.
This is a question, did everybody renew? What about people?
No, John and I are working on those that haven't renewed. There's a handful. Most of them, this is a timing issue. So if we run into a challenge where we need extra help there, we will reach out to you. But I think this is just about reminding them and figuring out what their calendars are for doing this stuff. For instance, we reached out to BBL and he's already set up a meeting to come see us. So I think we got that. Now, what we're gonna do is keep coming at you with the next iteration of this list, the next iteration of this list. This is as important that we grow the membership base as it is that we grow the finances. I think we want to get as many people under the umbrella, as many logos, and as much of the business community feeling like they are represented by the work that we do here. And also the feedback that comes from how they perceive the organization and what other things would be of value to them. And that is oftentimes better received by somebody like you than it is by us, because in some ways they might feel reticent to either criticize or point out what they see to be shortcomings. We want it all. We want to know what it is how we're seeing and how we can be better.
Absolutely, and I think once we have a topic for the annual meeting, a speaker secured, those are sometimes easier invitations or asks or connection points, so we can share that with you as soon as it's ready. Thank you all, we'll continue to update you. And on to you, Jim.
Okay, well, we got a fairly healthy update for you this month, since we've kind of gone light on the last month or two. John, why don't we start walking through that?
Okay, some of the new business encounters that the agency had this month. There's been a steady rise in them. Another 3 net new engagements we have. 2 of them are here right in the street. 2 are looking at some ideas for the spaces that are being developed here on the ground floor on the commercial spaces. So we're talking to 2 folks individually about different ideas for both of those. The other one we have is a service consultant who basically met with us to try and broaden her network here and expand her business. So it's more of a referral request for business expansion for that. Those are our new ones. What we've done to build these text charts that I show you is this bar chart that we've shown and going over. These are basically put together with spreadsheets that I've fed manually over the years, and like groomed them for what's active, what's not, pull out what's dead wood or things that are stalled out, and add the new ones that we're talking about into this. And try to categorize these into the 3 categories that we're showing you. What we've been able to do, what I was able to do, is to go take these individual spreadsheets, feed them into our AI machine now to analyze these more thoroughly than having just us count manually and tally them. So, and I think that's what you see in the next few pages, along with the usual pie chart. Just some kind of trend analysis over the last year, basically, a little over a year, of kind of what after having it all fed through there, what the breakdown comes in terms of how we're doing on all these categories in terms of growth and the trends that they may represent. It's some interesting when you look through some of it. What moves the needle, and that's really no surprise. The business expansion assistance is kind of the dominant percentage of our activities that we engage with, and a lot of those actually are almost half of our pipeline is from that business expansion and assistance. A lot of them are startups, a lot of them are startups and small businesses, and that's not really a surprise either. We talked about where's the organization that can come and be the entry point for people to get some guidance in terms of where to go for resources, assistance, what to do next, who to contact, what the market looks like. So I think that's kind of a normal view, but it's nice to have it kind of documented here. The other thing that we see is the big businesses, although they're not a dominant portion of what we do, are the ones that have a major employee basis. And we engage a number of them, which is an example, NGO, others to not just grow those bases, but to retain them and try to make them as healthy as we can. And the same thing with down on the island, Somatic, the others that are kind of in the quote unquote larger categories. So that's what you see here on these sheets, and I don't want to go through every line of these, but it gives you just some context of kind of what we're seeing in terms of our business engagement activity, how it shakes out. We do a lot of stuff with real estate developers, either in helping them position a project or advance it, or to basically just brainstorm with them, is there a market here for it? What does it look like? What does our market look like in these various categories? So we've seen a lot of uptick in that too, especially with a lot of the press we've got, a lot of the momentum we have on the street and everywhere else. We get a lot of inquiries from people that are not just from the region. So, but anyway, that's what I wanted to give you, was a little bit more of an insight into some of these things, and to share with you the fact that these are now more not individually tallied up manually than they're now actually kind of tracked now.
So I asked John to begin to refine this. I'd like deeper insight for not only you, but to inform the activities. An example of this, as you can see if you read through these charts, is that entrepreneurship, small business startup represents some of the biggest surge of activity, which then informs some of the work that I want to talk about with Bob, about how do we become more present in that space and how do we become more resource-based in that space. So that's not just an idea, that's based in the analysis of what appears to be a sustainable, not just trend, but ongoing demand for us. The second piece that I wanted to mention out of this is the strategy that we have laid out has started to now come back to us in terms of the people who come to us, for instance, developers who recognize that the housing as a strategy, for instance, is something that is not just a development-based, but is strategy-based. I'm heartened by that. But, the fact that for several years we've been not only talking about housing, but how it's connected to our long-term economic viability, and then hearing a developer saying, since we see you as an organization that could be a partner, we'd like to talk about how we could be part of that strategy. That pull from strategy is obviously what you try to develop strategy for. Not all those projects are viable and not all of them are the right partners, but at least the messaging is working, which I think is a really good mix. Now, in addition to this pipeline stuff, we've got some new data here with regards to residents. Now, I talked about this for the first time yesterday at the event that the Lake George Chamber put together, this Economic Outlook Breakfast, which was actually a very well attended, I think fairly robust event. And you were there, Paul.
That's all that needs to be said.
I sat right next to Dave DeMarco, and he only argued with me about half of the time. But Dan Davies was there. Mitch, I can't remember, Muroff, who's kind of a hotel broker organization. And then Victoria Dooley, who leads AEDC, which is our peer deep in the park. We tried to explain this a little bit yesterday. I'm going to try to do it a little more numeric here. We have been told and have validated the data have actually seen a remarkable uptick in the number of tax returns that have been filed by individuals in Warren County. In the 2-year period that was looked at in 2022 and 2023, more than 3,000 net new tax returns were filed in Warren County. Now, that does not translate necessarily to a population growth of 3,000 people, because that is essentially working against the overall demographics that we have of both people dying at a greater rate than people are born and people who are emigrating out. But let me just put this in perspective. It's 5 times what Albany had. It's 3 times what Saratoga had. This is really, really significant. It made me question it. Like, John and I had to dig in this data to actually feel like we believed what we were being told. CEG did their own analysis on this and further validated it for us. That inflow brought $140 million of net new income to our area. That also informs a growth of our, what's you could think of as our GDP. It's actually called GRP now.
Regional,
But
post-regional.
our market, defined by economic data, is now over $5 billion of annual output, economic output. That has not only grown post-COVID, but continues to grow at a sustainable rate. And to put into context, we're the only one in the Capital District that's showing this level of net growth. We need to learn a lot more about this, and we're digging into this, but this flies in the face of the narrative that says that everybody's leaving and nobody's coming. Figuring out who these people are, why they came, this is a big part of what we have to do, and it's going to inform some of the work that Bob and I are going to talk about next. We're going to continue to dig into this, but I wanted to give you guys the opportunity. I mean, you can see the numbers relative to Saratoga, Washington County, and Albany against our numbers. These are staggeringly good. Now, one thing Dave and I did agree on yesterday is this market is not broken. It may have its own quirks. There's a seasonality aspect to it. There's certainly a tourism-dominated aspect to it. But this is some of the best economic data in the state. Better understanding it, better figuring out how we can serve it has got to be a part of what we do going forward, but it's something that I think we should all hopefully be proud of.
Just a comment on anecdotally, my son, who's 30, is looking to buy his first house. He works in Saratoga. He's a regional trails manager for New York State Park and Recreation, and he is looking up in like the northern part of Saratoga County and Warren County because of the expense of buying a house down in the other parts. So I do think it makes sense, and people are like, and there's great school districts up here, and I think this is the new, what happened in Malta is going to happen up in this area. So I do think it's going to be a big growth area. So it makes sense to me and my son.
Well, I mean, the way that CEG framed it is the DRI investment helped catalyze essentially a rebirth in the area. And there is actual inflow of people that you're looking to attract demographically wise, which is essentially mitigating against the larger societal aging trends. And they're viewing us as an example of how that investment works. That's how you'll see some of this messaging coming out of both ESD and CEG. And I didn't want you to be reading about us and not know what it is they're talking about. We've got some more work to do to better understand this and define this, which we'll do in more meetings, but it I think is really good news. Now, another thing that we did to try to backstop this is to figure out, we believe there continues to be a shortage of housing here, and that is the throttle. At the exact same time that this data was released on building permits and construction activity. In 2025, nearly 200 building permits were issued in Warren County. I mean, if you put that in context, that's up from 143 the year before, 126 the year before. Those are not only single-family homes, but kind of the more dense developments that we have, multifamily. that is, again, a sustainable trend that is going in the right direction and is informing this belief that there is both opportunity and housing to support it to outsiders. Obviously, we have more on the way here and more in the pipeline. You will see messaging from ESD and from HCR that says that the embrace of some of the state's programs in particularly Glens Falls has helped catalyze this.
Is this like verified data? Like, is somebody going, like, is this a, are like decks excluded and, you know, new windows and like a roof or where the building from that? Are those netted out, or is this just, no, this is a single family
Those
building?
are the actual housing units.
Yeah, structures.
Yeah.
So there's an analyst that does this full time at CEG who does all that scouting work. And we talked to James because, again, I was reticent about all of it. It just seemed too good to be true. James is ridiculously thorough. And so he brought us both the underlying data and the work that he'd done on top of it. This is all good news, and I think we've got more work to do to dig into it. This all informs this last page here, which is, you know, where do we stand as an economy? I get asked this question all the time, and I sometimes am a little reluctant to put the numbers out because you can research this in various ways. If you look at it from Department of Labor data, you might get a slightly different answer. But the net of multiple different data polls on GDP is essentially a $5 billion local economy. And of that, tourism is the largest piece of it, what we would call the experiential economy, of just over $1 billion. But that's actually different than the data that we pulled a number of years ago when we were doing our strategy. We believed that tourism was roughly a third. $1 billion out of 5 is 20%. Which means that we are actually diversifying our economy, and we've got to dig into this. I was also very pleasantly surprised to see that manufacturing has held steady at least 10% of this number even today. So while the number of people who are employed in that sector may not be growing, the economic output of it continues to stay stable at 10 to 12% of our total economy. There are some pieces here that really surprised me. I'm not surprised that real estate represents a significant portion of this because the valuations here continue to grow. It's a good indication in terms of tax base, though, when you see that continuing to grow and valuations going up. The information and communication sector, we're still trying to figure out all of that. Some of that may be influenced by sales of organizations. So there have been several IT organizations which have been acquired that were based in this area, and that may be artificially driving that number up. I don't know yet, and so I don't want to tell you that I have this one 100% figured out. But, I mean, Warren County is not the median in terms of income or population in the state, and yet its economy is essentially the median economy for the state of New York. That continues to say that we are outperforming. We are punching way above our weight. That's all good news for people who are already invested here and for people who are considering investing here. Things appreciate here, and they've been appreciating for now a decade, and COVID is not the sole reason, and people coming up from the city in response to COVID is not the sole reason. More work to be done here, a lot of good news.
Can I ask John a question? Since you looked at the net, what are the reasons you dropped people off the list? Like, why are they no longer working with us? Is there anything that is important we should hear about, or?
It's a combination of things. Sometimes the project just stalls out. Or they approach us with an idea and then they just, you know, they figure out.
We have 12 months of inactivity, that's automatic.
I mean, sometimes they come, some of them resurrect and come back, but if there hasn't been any movement in there, or there's been kind of somebody that says, you know, they're kind of gone quiet, they've gone off the air, if you want, or decide not to go forward because of funding, for whatever reason. They just want to go somewhere else, not here. So it's kind of a combination of stuff that kind of.
Anything jumped out that we should be.
Drop them out, and there have been times where actually they resurrect again and come back 2 years later. So now we're back to doing the way to do it now. So I figure it's not kind of,
But you don't see trends on like lack of office, available office space or cost of.
Transportation,
Yes.
workers.
yeah, no, yeah, right.
Well, I will tell you one trend that comes up when those that declare that they're moving on or leaving a project is that the perception of process here continues to be an obstacle. It came up yesterday in the event that we had with the Lake George
Even
Chamber.
planning.
Yeah, the time that it takes from the idea generation to get through a full permitting process here is viewed as more than in other places, depending on wherever they're coming from. That is that's reputational as well as is based in reality now. It's gonna take a lot, I think, for us to combat that notion. The city is sometimes viewed differently than other parts of the county in terms of that process. But when people declare that they've moved on, oftentimes that is the reason, is that they felt like the process was either too onerous or too uncertain. The more north we go from Glens Falls, the more likely that is to occur.
There's also some phenomenon too, where because we're dealing with so many startups and then ideas, new ideas, people come together, and say, hey, we have an idea for this diner in, say, Missouri, we were doing it because they approached us on funding. They had no collateral, really had great experience, and wanted to go full tilt, they didn't have the right, they're, what do we do next, and then finally, I think they went through the process of understanding they couldn't get from loan or LDC loan or anything. But they're like, we probably shouldn't do this. So
Sometimes we actually talk about it.
yeah.
Lake Luzerne needs another restaurant, but they need one that's gonna have enough working capital to survive.
And do you work with the SBA on that?
Yes.
They're a pretty strong partner.
Yeah, in general, Greg Shanice actually holds his meetings here, and we're oftentimes referring people into him. If we think there's a viability, but they have to bring some amount of equity and some amount of experience, or that's not gonna work either.
Very minimum.
Yeah, I think we're calling 2 to 3 a month, so our net gain is actually bigger than the 3 you see.
Yeah.
I did want to move on to some of this data. To me, continues to reinforce the idea that there's a part of our economy that we still don't have full insight to. I give you as an example South Street. There are there's certainly double-digit number of new businesses that have either been established or in the process of being established on South Street. That oftentimes is not recognized in either the data, nor are they in our membership. And right now, I don't, from talking to the chamber, they oftentimes do the ribbon cuttings, but I don't know that they're necessarily being, the issues or problems they're having are not necessarily ones that the chamber is well positioned to address. And so this is an example of a part of the economy we're trying to figure out how to get to. I wanted Bob to talk a little bit about this because we're gonna embark on a formal strategy over the next year or two to formally engage with this. And maybe Bob, in just a couple of minutes, you can kind of walk through what you went through with the executive.
Sure. Well, let me start by saying that the work that we are doing really came out of the work that Jim and I have been doing when I was heading up Startup EDC, which comes out of the college. It's really designed to get individuals who have no experience with entrepreneurship, to give them a comprehensive overview of the types of things that they need to do to get up and running. One of the things that Jim and I noted was that startup was not going to be enough. There are so many people who are coming in with an advanced understanding of what they want to do to actually bring their businesses to market. And startup is just not the right program. And so we actually piloted a couple of different programs tying into startup and designed to bring in and speak to those more advanced individuals. And we actually were pleased that we had 75 to 100 people show up to those two activities, held a year apart. And that really said to us that there was a need that we were not addressing, and that was not being addressed in the college's program. So we talked about actually starting to do more and better work, more comprehensive work. And that's really, it was at that point that Jim had contracted me through the LDC to start working with the EDC and the LDC. So over the course of the past year, we put together a 3-phase program. And I'll kind of highlight it. In the first phase, and this will take place during the remainder of the year, we're going to identify board and advisory board members, because one of the things that we have come to understand is we don't know what we don't know. You know, we have talked and continue to talk to the people who are doing business in this area, but there are a lot of young, new, and folks from outside who are coming into the area, and they have needs, but we don't necessarily know what they are. And so we're proposing an advisory board structure, but also want to make sure that we have some of those comments coming in the traditional board. And this will assist us in identifying the needs of established and new entrepreneurs, specifically entrepreneurs, and also to continue programming that they've already created and that will better serve the needs of this community.
So we've already identified, you helped charter the advisory board, which is a part of our bylaws. We've just activated it now. And while it is not the full contingent of what would make up that advisory board, the first wave of people that we're approaching fit this profile. People who are not necessarily around this table or not necessarily represented, but who are coming to us for support. I don't know, it's like 5, 6, 7 names right now. And we're in the process right now of engaging them and gathering them for the first time.
Another thing that we're noting is that there are folks from just outside the county border who have an interest in doing activity, but are not being served by any traditional economic development organization. And we, by default, are becoming that organization. Jim and I were up in Elizabethtown 2 weeks ago, meeting with an organization that was established by Clarkson University. And while they're trying, what's very, very clear is both this organization and some of those individuals who are coming and attending are looking for things that even Clarkson University can't support. And so we're taking a look at the potential for collaboration with that organization, which I think will begin to address the entrepreneurial needs of a broader geographic.
Let me give you an example of this. Hardback Canoes sits just across the line in Minerva. Okay, they're a multi-state, well-known company. That their needs go beyond IDA or simple LDC kind of awards in Essex County, which are the resources that are available to them. They're actually looking for people who can help them figure out what are the right ways to scale and how might they expand gracefully. And they come to us because they believe that we are not only the closest, but maybe the best position to do it. There are 4 other organizations in Essex County who have come to us this year. Similarly, these are scaling organizations that are not in the tourism sector and therefore not aligned 100% with the resources that are already there. And we're trying to figure out, is there a way for us to do this? It clearly accrues to us. Anybody who lives in Minerva is doing their shopping here and getting all their services here. I talked with Steve McNally yesterday about this. He said, do whatever you can to help them. We're 100%, you know, whatever it is that we obviously want them to do well and we welcome you. But we're not exactly sure how this works yet. I think we got to engage with people to figure out what their needs are and then figure out how do we do this in conjunction with the resources that are already there. But some of these are very exciting, good ideas that are just happen to be birthed by somebody whose address is 5 miles across the line.
Well, and this also gives us an opportunity to tap into some of the natural resource protection organizations who are really starting to emerge and to whom we had, or actually at whom we had really put focus last year during the annual meeting. I mean, I'll just give anecdotally an example of an organization tying into natural resources, water, that really has emerged in the past, it's been about 10 years now, and it's Freedom Boat Club up in Dunham's Bay. Freedom right now, I have been a member for about the past 7 years. Their dock crew just won Best Dock Crew in the World, and Freedom is a global organization now. And then in addition to that, I was talking to one of our dock managers who indicated that right now we are leading the world in the number of reciprocal requests from people somewhere in the globe who are coming to Lake George because Lake George is a preeminent organization. These are the types of organizations that are emerging. And this really gives us an opportunity to tie back into that freshwater aspect of what we had identified.
John's going to do a deeper dive on the whole boat, what we call blue water economy. We'll do that. We'll do that in an upcoming round.
In phase two, first half of 2027, we're going to expand our programming to provide a higher level of instruction. We really need to identify what it is that businesses need and what we can provide. The interesting thing is there are a lot of organizations out there who are trying to do this on a for-profit basis, but that's not going to serve a lot of the small businesses that are really trying to establish themselves. We, as a service organization, have an opportunity to provide this level of instruction on a not-for-profit basis. Certainly we can cover our costs, but rather than take a look at somebody who's just trying to profit and then move on, this gives us an opportunity to, working collaboratively with organizations like the Chamber, put together that higher level of instruction that's going to strengthen the entrepreneurship economy. And then also I want to identify the fact that particularly John had done such a great job to establish our communications. Eric also has come in and he has really helped strengthen this. We really need to showcase some of the emerging strength of entrepreneurship here in the region, and we will do that in phases 1, 2, and 3. In phase 3, second half of 2027 and beyond, we're going to increase yet further the educational programming, but we're also going to really look to provide unique service to businesses who are coming to us and putting together kind of a toolkit. I don't want to overstress that word toolkit, but they're looking for specific things, and we need to find out what those things are and then begin to target individual businesses who come to us. That also provides a unique membership opportunity for us as well.
The network effect here is different. The people that they need is not just an accountant or bookkeeper. They need access to capital markets. They need higher levels of business law support. They need regulatory help to navigate employment-related issues. These are very different than somebody who comes and tries to form their business plan, and we're in the process of figuring that out. We need to move, so I want to try to make sure we step through this. But we will give you more structure on this. The thing that will happen before our next meeting is scheduling this advisory report, and I want you to know what it's going to be. I want to give you quickly an update on grants. We have 4 that are in some form of motion. We're actively engaged in the child care work. We are paid in advance quarter by quarter for that, so the net for us is positive in terms of the finances. Significant work going on in that child care sector. We're actually part of a process to go deliver a national paper at some convention around child care in August. I'm trying to figure out if I can actually go do that, but we're moving. And you will continue to see a lot of press about this because it aligns with the state's priorities. Whether that continues into 2027 will be an ongoing discussion that starts to happen in the second half of this year. But Johnsburg in particular will be a node of proposed pilot development for novel childcare. The rest of it is still in work. The connectivity grant, which is that cellular overlay, we've gone through the gauntlet of all the city's committees. We've introduced a resolution to the city. I'm hopeful going to be actually calendared for an upcoming city meeting. All they have to do is commit to the working capital that will be reimbursed, and we've given them a not to exceed figure. I spoke with Jeff yesterday, and he believes that will be scheduled in the next 2 weeks. We need to give ESD by mid-July an indication that we're moving forward with this. The county and Lake George will follow the city because the city has to say it so that we know that what the numbers are for the other 2, but they're ready to table those resolutions as well. The Power Up Grant, which I know you're familiar with, Mike, continues in its development. We're trying to schedule a meeting with Carrie and the mayor, with some of the businesses, including Finch, to talk about both the process and also what would be helpful if needed. The thing that stands between us and moving forward with this is the working capital requirement that, again, this is reimbursable. This is millions of dollars worth of work, and we do not have millions of dollars to advance. And so continuing to figure out what that solution is with National Grid is the basis of a lot of our discussion. The last one is our study to decide how to advance a formal grant proposal around some kind of freshwater center or freshwater investment in the area. ESD would like us to formally request a grant to spend 6 to 12 months developing a third-party objective plan and then evaluate that plan. So rather than us simply propose into the CFA process or into the ESD process, this is the path that they'd like to follow. So we're in the process now of constructing an RFP that we would do. And we're in dialogue with the LGA and RPI to determine what role they would play as either partners or stakeholders in that. Last thing I want to talk about is this insurance thing. We don't have the insurance that we need. We have almost no cyber or fraud protection. We need to address this. That's what's initiating this. In addition, the entity that we originally insured with was a local entity when we insured with them, and they're no longer a local entity. And our goal is to continue to operate with local businesses where we can. We put out a request for quotes and received information from more than 6 firms. We've brought that down now to a couple of finalists. We began that process of introducing our alternatives to the Audit and Finance Committee at the last meeting, and the next meeting we will advance that further. The real question is how much cyber protection to carry. Right now we have almost nothing. If we were to look at this from a transactional basis, like how big is the biggest check we write, $100,000 worth of coverage would typically protect us, but we have more than $1 million worth of total liability and assets. There's a gigantic difference in cyber costs of moving from $100,000 to $1 million plus. And so that's the real conversation that we're having with the Audit and Finance Committee, which is where is the right combination of additional coverage versus the value for us and how much we're willing to pay for that. No matter what, we will include, we will make this change in this year. The county had made the decision to move to a greater level of coverage, but had not enacted it when the unfortunate incident that happened to them occurred. So we will move expediently on this as quickly as we can to make the right decision and then change policies mid-year. We will essentially cancel one policy, begin another policy, and request a refund from the existing entity. We're not waiting for the policy to turn over next spring. But we are covered right now on the coverages that we had just as of the beginning of the year. We just need that. That's everything I've got.
All right, is there anything else? Any new business? If not, our next board meeting, we skipped July, is on August 19th, so it'll be a little while before we see each other. The Audit and Finance Committee meeting will happen in July though, but otherwise we won't see you all till August. Take a motion to adjourn.
So they,
Thank you, Kathy, seconded by Sue. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
good to see you, Ashley.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. Holding me out loud.
Yeah, I'll be there. So, somebody else.
It'll be lower this time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's September.